Remember what we discussed in the last class? Even if you remember, you will not tell it out. That's the usual style, right?
Statistical data mining.
Oh, thank you. Who was that? Nitishri or Adya? Okay, whoever it is, thank you at least for telling it out. Hmm. Okay, so now it is my PPT. Yeah, we discussed all the various statistical techniques for outlier detection. And today we move on to the last technique, that is proximity based approaches. So these are not there as far as your syllabus is concerned. Okay, so today we move on to the uh, last method of outlier detection, nothing but proximity based method. Okay, so after this comes the applications I took up in between one of the classes. Okay, I think one application is still pending. Okay, that is finance. I suppose I couldn't complete in one of the classes. That alone will take it up. Okay, so or by now all of you very much know that when you say outlier, that's nothing but a data point or a data object. So that will deviate significantly from the rest of the objects. Okay, it will be like it is being generated by some other exceptional mechanism. Okay, it will show behave in such a manner. Okay, and we had seen what are the various parametric non-parametric methods for detecting outliers. Okay, so today class we will see the proximity based methods. Okay, so you can see here what's written here. Okay, so if we model the proximity of an object, that is the nearness, okay, using uh, its nearest neighbor. If it's 3 nearest neighbor or whatever, KNN nearest neighbor. Okay, so then the objects in region, you can see here with respect to this figure. Okay, I'm explaining this part. Okay, okay, so this if we model the proximity of an object using its 3 nearest neighbors, then what are all the objects in region R? Okay, so they are actually substantially different from the other objects in the data set. You can see it's far off. Okay, so so there are two objects here, one and two. There are two objects here, these two. Okay, so for the two objects, whatever is there in this region R. Okay, so they are. You can say if it is 3 nearest neighbor, their second and third neighbors are dramatically more uh, remote than those of any other objects. Okay, so actually we can label them, label these objects whatever is there in R, as outliers based on the nearness or proximity. Okay, that's what the concept is. Okay, an object is an outlier if the nearest neighbor of the object is far away. That is, the proximity of the object is significantly deviating from the proximity of most of the other objects in the same data set. Okay, so this example is being, that is you are modeling the proximity of an object using its 3 nearest neighbors. Okay, so as a result the objects in R are substantially different from other objects in the set and they are called as outliers. Okay, so the effectiveness of the proximity based method highly relies on the proximity measure that you take. Okay, so in certain applications, the proximity or distance measures cannot be obtained directly or easily. Okay, so generally we have a difficulty in finding a group of outliers which stay close to each other. Okay, so when you consider proximity based methods fall into two category. This is what we are discussing in today's class. The first one is what is called the distance based proximity method, and the second one is what is called the density based method. Distance based um, outlier detection method based on proximity, and density based outlier detection method based on proximity. Okay, so that's what we are going to discuss in today's class. Okay, so first we will start with the distance based, yeah, a comparison between distance and density based outlier. Okay, the outlier detection techniques, I mean proximity based method, falls into these two, distance based and density based. Okay, so You can see here. Yeah. So okay. So as far as the distance-based method is considered, okay, so that will consider the neighborhood of an object. Okay, so neighborhood of an object, the distance-based measure. Okay, so which is generally defined by the given radius. Okay, so the distance-based measure will be taking into consideration uh, or it will be consulting the neighborhood of that particular object. And that neighborhood is being defined by its radius. Okay, so uh, a particular object, okay, will be treated as outlier if that particular neighborhood does not have enough other points. Okay, then it will be treated as a outlier. Okay, so whereas your density based outlier detection, density based technique, okay, so that will be investigating the density of an object with respect to that of its neighbors. Okay, so a point gets treated as an outlier if the density is relatively lower than that of its neighbors. Okay, so in a particular object, it will be identified or marked as an outlier if the density is lower than that of its neighbors. So that's the concept of the density based outlier. Okay, so now we will little more elaborately look into what this distance based outlier detection technique is all about. Okay, so okay, so we have some equations here. Okay, so let us say we have a set. Set is represented by capital letter D. Is it not mentioned here? Okay, it's shown in the equation, but okay, objects in D. Okay, so it is, you have a set of data objects to be analyzed. Okay, so that will be represented by the capital letter D. Okay, so D is a set of data objects to be analyzed. Okay, so then you have something called, yeah, R. Okay, so for each object is represented as O, you examine the number of other objects in the R neighborhood of O, where R is a user specified distance threshold. So this small letter R, okay, so that's actually a user can specify a distance threshold. Okay, so that is denoted by this small letter R. Okay, so you can define a reasonable, it's called the reasonable neighborhood of an object or user specified distance threshold. Okay, so the term R, okay, R stands for reasonable neighborhood of R of a particular object. Okay, so the user can specify that particular distance threshold. That's why it's called user specified distance threshold or reasonable neighborhood of object. That's what is R. Okay, so each object is represented as O. Okay, so for each object O, you can examine the number of other objects in the R neighborhood of O, object O. Okay, so in most of the objects in the set D, so yeah, that is in case if most of the objects, that's what. Okay, so if most of the objects in the set D are far from the point under consideration, that is O, so that is, it is not in the R neighborhood of O, so then we can treat it as a outlier. Okay, so that is yeah, it's if it's far from, if most of the objects whatever is coming up in the data set D, if it is far from the point under consideration, okay, so that means it is not in the user specified distance threshold or in the R neighborhood of O, then we can put it as a outlier. Okay, so yeah, see, an object O is an outlier if most of the objects in D are far from O, that is not in the R neighborhood of O. Okay, so you can even specify a fraction threshold, just like a user defined threshold. A fraction threshold is represented by the letter pi. Okay, so an object O in a distance based outlier detection technique, which takes the parameters R. There is a user specified distance threshold or reasonable neighborhood of data set, comma, the pi. Pi is nothing but the fraction threshold. If it's treated as an outlier, if it satisfies this condition. That is, distance of O to O dash is less than or equal to R divided by the absolute value of distance is less than or equal to pi. Okay, so this is actually a distance measure. Okay, so that distance threshold, and this R will always be definitely greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so the distance threshold and pi, pi will also have a value. Your fraction threshold will also have a value between 0 and 1. Okay, so any particular object O in a distance based outlier detection technique having parameters R and pi will be treated as an outlier if it satisfies this particular condition. Okay, so you can always check the distance between this O and the kth nearest neighbor. Okay, so where this particular O is treated as an outlier if the distance of O comma O to the power, OK is greater than R. Okay, so rather than this, okay, so that is the distance between O and the k nearest neighbor. Okay, so object O is an outlier. In this case, if it's an outlier if the distance, that is distance of O comma OK is greater than R. Okay, this is the case of an outlier. That's what we are basically trying to find out. Okay, so because in such a case there are fewer than k objects except for O that are in the threshold neighborhood of O. Okay, so rather than going for this computation, you can even go for a nested loop algorithm for efficient computation. That's what is mentioned here. Okay, so this is a little more straightforward method. You can go for a nested loop algorithm. Okay, so that's basically to check the R neighborhood of every object. Okay, so you can make use of this nested loop algorithm. Okay, so for any object OI, that's what this is what the nested loop algorithm tells you to compute, to check the R neighborhood for every object. What it says is for any object OI. Okay, so when I say OI, I will be between 1 to n. Okay, we can calculate the distance between OI and the other object and count the number of objects that are in the R neighborhood of I. Okay, so that's what, count the number of other objects in the R neighborhood. That's the first step. Okay, so once we find that, okay, so once we find pi, that is pi into n, n other objects, okay, are within R distance. Okay, then you can terminate the inner loop. Okay, so yeah, otherwise it will be treated as a outlier. Okay, so this is actually a nested loop algorithm instead of computing the which is considered to be a little more efficient. Okay, so actually the CPU time is of the order O to the power n square, but linear to the data set size, since for most non-outlier objects the inner loop terminates easily. Okay, so okay, so that's regarding the distance-based outlier detection. Okay, so next we have what is called the grid-based technique. Okay, so you're trying to basically build a grid that any points from the same grid will have a distance of at least say epsilon or whatever. Okay, let me tell you what it is. Okay, it's called the cell method. Okay, grid-based method or the cell method. Okay, so actually what we are trying to do is we are trying to quantize the objects into a finite grid with certain number of cells. Where you're trying to have a grid-like structure. Okay, so here the main advantage of having this as a grid-like structure is, the processing time will be much faster, and it will be independent of the other objects. I hope you remember the grid-based clustering also, what we had learned in the 4th unit. Okay, so same way here we are trying to quantize all the objects into a finite grid structure so as to improve the processing time. Okay, so you can see here the data space. Okay, the two-dimensional data set. it means it's partitioned into a multiple dimension grid. Okay, so each cell in the hypercube with a diagonal length of r by 2. So this is actually showing a portion of a grid, okay, from a two-dimensional data set. Okay, so the length of each uh, edge of the cell, yeah, that's what is being mentioned here, r by 2. Okay, so let's consider this particular cell. See, you can see here one particular cell C here. Okay, so when you say the neighbors of this particular cell C, which is being marked here, okay, so it's divided into two groups. So two groups, what are the two groups? One is level 1 cells, okay, marked as 1, marked with 1. Then we have the level 2 cells marked with the letter 2. Okay, so that's what the neighboring cells of C is being divided into two groups. Okay, so the cells immediately next to C, okay, immediately next to C, if you see these cells. Okay, so all these are immediately next to C. Okay, so those are being marked as labeled as 1. Okay, level 1 cells. Okay, level 1 cells. Okay, and the cells which are one or two cells away from C in whatever direction it is, vertically, horizontally, diagonally. Okay, so that they are being marked as level 2 cells. Okay, labeled as 2. Labeled as 2 here. Okay, so the remaining, other than this one, whatever comes, it is level 2. Okay, so the properties are being given here. That's what the two level of cells. Okay, when you consider a point C here. Okay, when you're considering a cell C, okay, the neighbors are put as level 1 cells and level 2 cells. Okay, so the properties of level 1 cell and level 2 cell is being given here. Okay, so given any possible point x of C and any possible point y in level 1 cell, then the distance of x comma y will be less than or equal to r as far as the level 1 cell property is concerned. But then with respect to a level 2 cell property, okay, the distance will be greater than or equal to r, then only y will be treated as a level 2 cell. Okay, so this is how it is being configured as a grid like structure for better processing time. Okay, so now let's see how the pruning or elimination happens. Okay, so these are the two properties what we discussed here, what is being mentioned here. Okay, so now let's see how to apply the rules to find out outliers or how to prune them. Okay, so okay, so let A be the number of cells, number of objects in the cell C. Okay, so let A be the number of objects in cell C. Let B1 be the total number of objects in level 1 cell, and B2 be the total number of objects in level 2 cell. Okay, so for these are the pruning rules. Okay, as far as level 1 and level 2 is concerned. Okay, so uh, so level 1 cell pruning rule, what it says is based on level 1 cell property. Okay, so that is if a plus b1 is greater than the fractional thing pi into n, then that is fractional threshold into the number, then every object O in C is not a uh, outlier because all objects in C and level 1 cells are in the user specified R neighborhood of O, and then there are at least pi comma n such neighbors. Okay, so that's the pruning rule. Okay, level 2 pruning rule, what it says is based on level 2 cell property. Okay, so if B1 plus B2 is less than this, then all objects in C are treated as outliers. Okay, because each of their R neighborhood is having a value less than the least pi n and other objects. Okay, so that's what to apply these two rules. The main advantage is we need to check only limited number of cells, whatever is close to the target cells, rather than checking each and every object in the whole data set. So that's the beauty of actually this grid based method. Okay, so you need to check only the limited number of cells, whatever is being close to the target cell. Okay, so using these two rules, whatever is being mentioned here, that is level 1 pruning rule and level 2 pruning rule. Okay, so many objects can be determined. You can classify them as either outliers or not outliers or non-outliers. Okay, so we need to check only the objects that cannot be pruned with these two rules. Okay, so many gets pruned this way, so we can even uh, I mean beyond this, uh, we need to look into the data objects that fall into the preview of uh, uh, I mean which doesn't get pruned with the help of these two rules. Okay, that is level 1 self pruning and level 2 self pruning. Okay, so in such case, for such objects which do not fall into the preview of level 1 and level 2, we need to only compute the distance between O and the objects in the level 2, with respect to the that particular object. Because level 1 we need not consider, because all objects in level 1 have a distance of at most r to O. Okay, and but then so and all the objects not in level 1 or level 2 cell, it will must have a distance of more than r from O, so it cannot be in the r neighborhood of O. So you need to compute only the distance between O and the objects in level 2 with respect to O. Okay, so in which case you can easily take care of it. Okay, so that's regarding the grid based method where we label the data objects as level 1 and level 2 with certain properties, and these are the pruning rules for it. Okay, so the next one and the last one mentioned is what is called the density based outlier detection. Okay, density based outlier detection. Okay, so okay, so the distance based outlier detection. Okay, so that actually is called a global, it provides a sort of global view of the data. Okay, so or the outliers which are being detected by the distance based measures, they are called global outliers. Okay, so whereas here whatever we look into the density based the outlier detection, they are called the local outliers. That's why we have this local outlier factor, LOF. Okay, so the distance based method, it's called global specifically due to two reasons. Okay, so why? Because in majority of the outliers, whichever is detected by your distance based measure, okay, such an outlier will be remote, very remote from the majority of the data. Okay, so and to detect this distance based outliers, we generally need two global parameters. What are the two global parameters? We had to look into, we need R, and pi. R was the reasonable neighborhood, the user specified distance threshold, and pi was the fraction threshold. We needed these two. Okay, so that's the reason why we call it as global outliers, whatever is being detected by your distance based measures. Okay, but then if you consider many of the real world data sets, okay, so they have even much more complex structure. Okay, where the objects may be considered as or it can be considered as outliers with respect to its local neighborhood. Okay, so rather than with respect to its global data distribution. Okay, so in that case we need to go for what is called as density based outlier detection method. Okay, so we need to consider the local proximity based outliers. Okay, as far as the real world data set is considered, more than what we look into the global based outliers. Okay, so you can look at this figure what is being given here, this particular figure. Okay, so you can see here you have a cluster C1. Okay, so that is actually, you can call it as a thick cluster, a dense cluster. Then you have another cluster here, C2. Opposite of that, we can call this as a sparse cluster also. Okay, C1 and C2, two clusters. Okay, C1, it's a dense cluster, and C2 is opposite of that. Okay, so you can see here this particular object, object O3. This particular object O3, with respect to a distance based method, I can say that this object, I mean O3, can be an outlier because it is very far from the majority of the data set with respect to a distance based technique. Okay, but then if you see this O1 and O2, what about this O1 and O2? Are they outliers? These, let me take a different color. these O1 and O2. No, okay, this O2. Can we say this O1 and O2, they are outliers? Okay, so in O1 and O2, they cannot be treated as distance-based outliers. Okay, so I mean, like if we try to categorize your O1 and O2 as a distance-based outlier, then we'll have to classify all the objects in cluster C2 as outlier. So that's not possible. Okay, so but then with respect to cluster C1, with respect to this cluster C1, don't you feel this O1 and O2 is deviating significantly from remaining data points which are a part of cluster C1? So in that case, O1 and O2 can be identified as outliers. Okay, so when they are considered locally with respect to this cluster C1, because O1 and O2 deviate significantly from the objects whatever is there as a part of C1. Okay, so those are all very close data points, whereas O1 and O2 deviate significantly from with respect to cluster C1. Okay, then again, if you see, O1 and O2 are also far from objects in cluster C2 also. So cluster C2 is here, it's far from that also. Okay, so that's the reason why we have to go for considering the local outliers. Okay, so see in figure, O1 and O2 are local outliers to C1. O3 is a global outlier, but not O4. But O4 is not an outlier. Okay, so the proximity-based clustering cannot find this O1 and O2 as outlier. Okay, comparing with O4. Okay, so that's what. So, what I wanted to tell you is the distance-based outlier technique, whatever we have learned, so that will not be able to capture the local outliers like this O1 and O2, as how you can see here. Okay, so because they are outliers with respect to certain clusters. Okay, and again O4. O4 is local. This one O4. Okay, O4 is local with respect to cluster C2. Okay, so cluster C1 is a dense cluster and C2 is a sparse cluster. But then with respect to O4, with respect to C2, O4 is a outlier. It's local, local to the cluster C2. Okay, so that's the reason why O4 is not considered as a local outlier, whereas O1 and O2 are local outliers with respect to C1, but then that's a dense cluster, whereas with respect to C2, C2 is a sparse cluster. Okay, so O4 is local with respect to C2. So, and C2 on the other hand, when compared to C1 is sparse. Okay, so O4 is not considered as a local outlier. That's the point to be noted. It's not a local outlier. Okay, so with this understanding, okay, so the intuition is density based outlier detection. So the density around an outlier object is significantly different from the density around its object. Okay, so the question is, how can we formulate the local outliers? Okay, how whatever is being shown here in this example. Okay, so you use the concept of what is called the relative density, relative density of an object against its neighbors as the indicator of the degree of object being outliers. Okay, so you need to compare the density around an object with the density around its local neighbors. Okay, so the assumption what you basically have is the assumption of your density based outlier detection is that the density around a non outlier object is similar to the density around its neighbors. Okay, while the density around an outlier object is significantly different from significantly different from the density around its neighbors. Okay, so that's the concept. Okay, so what we want to tell is the density based outlier detection methods. So they make use of this concept of relative density of an object against its neighbors. Okay, so to indicate up to what degree an object is a outlier. Okay, so there are, yeah, it uses the density, relative density of an object against its neighbors as an indicator of the degree of the object being the outliers. Okay, so you can see here some k distance of an object and k distance neighborhood of an object. Okay, so uh, the relative density of an object O, given given a set of objects or a data set D. Okay, so the k distance, the first one is k distance. Okay, the k distance of an object O. Okay, so that's what is being denoted by distance, dist k of O, the k distance of an object. Okay, so that's the distance, dist of, it will be mentioned. Okay, so that is between O and another object P. Okay, so that basically these both will belong to the data set D. Okay, so uh, then uh, the k distance neighborhood. Okay, so there are at least k objects O dash. You can see here O hyphen or O dash. Okay, which belongs to D. Okay, such that this distance of O to O dash is less than the k distance of an object, that is dist k of O. Okay, so that's what the second property what it says. Then nk of O could be bigger than k, since multiple objects may have identical distance to objects. Okay, so these are the three properties mentioned. Okay, so now coming to the reachability formulas as far as the density based clustering is concerned. Okay, so and the problem is when we use distance based measures in such a case, the statistical fluctuations associated with the distance measure will be very high. So to overcome that problem, we go for what is called this reachability distance, local reachability distance from O to O dash, to have that I mean, it's like getting a soothing effect. Okay, so for, I mean, you can see here for any two objects O and O dash. Okay, so the reachability distance from O to O dash, so that's being given by this particular formula. Okay, so the k which is being mentioned here, it's a user specified parameter. Okay, so that is actually something which controls the soothing effect or the smoothing effect. Okay, so the k specifies the minimum neighborhood to be examined in order to determine the local density of the object. Okay, so and again one more thing to be noted is yeah, the local reachability density of O. Okay, so that the first one was, the equation was reachability distance from O dash to O. Okay, so then next is how to define the local reachability density of an object. Okay, so that's what is mentioned here. Okay, so this is the equation for it. Okay, you just need to understand the concept. You don't have to worry about the formulas which is being mentioned here. The concept is, it's enough if you understand the concept. Okay, so then you can see here local outlier factor. So we use basically the concept of relative density to find the local outliers. Okay, so we use the parameter k to quantify this user defined parameter k, okay, to quantify the neighborhood. And you do not need to specify the minimum number of objects in the neighborhood as a requirement for density. Okay, so instead what we do is we calculate the local reachability density for an object, and you then compare it with that of its neighbors. Okay, to basically quantify the degree to which that particular object can be treated as a outlier. Okay, so I mean, to call it as an outlier, I mean, the local outlier factor of an object O. Okay, so it should satisfy this particular equation. You can see here LOS, LOF. Okay, so I mean, local outlier factor. Okay, so the point to be noted is we need not specify the minimum number of objects in the neighborhood as a requirement to determine the density. Okay, so instead we compute what is called as local outlier factor, what is being mentioned here. Okay, local outlier factor. Okay, and then you compare it with that of its neighbors, to understand the degree to which that particular, or to quantify, or to understand the degree to which the particular object is being considered as a outlier. Okay, so the lower the local reachability density of O, and the higher the local reachability density of KNN, the higher the local outlier factor. Okay, so this captures a local outlier whose density is relatively low comparing to the local densities of its K nearest neighbor. Okay, so you can have a better understanding or identification of the local outliers with using this density based measures than with respect to a distance based measures. Okay, so that's the concept of your density based clustering method and LOF, local outlier factors. Okay, so that actually completes our syllabus. Okay, so it could be a little bit confusing or with all these equations and other things. There is no need to worry about these equations. You can just write the concept of density based outlier detection, when it is being, when it is required, and what is the concept of this LOF, and why do we need this and not just a global outlier detection as outlined in this distance based measure. Okay, distance based measure makes use of this grid based method with two levels, level 1 and level 2, with certain properties in the pruning rules we looked into. Okay, so that's regarding the proximity based methods for outlier detection, the statistical method and proximity based methods. Okay, so the remaining are not mentioned in your syllabus. Okay, so I'll not be covering. Rather than that, we can go for a revision. Plus, I need to do one more application. Application of data mining. So after that, we will have a good revision of fourth and fifth unit, because I went, I mean, quite fast. I'm not sure regarding how much of you have understood and how many of you have really understood the concept, or were you in fact listening to the class. So all those things are there. Okay, so I hope you were listening.